Right back live with you on In Focus. Music icon Quincy Jones has died at the age of 91. The legendary producer's family says he passed away at his home in Los Angeles, surrounded by loved ones. Jones was a highly acclaimed producer with hundreds of hits under his belt. He discovered and crafted countless hits for the likes of Michael Jackson, Frank Sinatra, Ray Charles. Jones was also honored as a multiple time award winner, clinching the elite EGOT status over the course of his 70-year career. This means he won an Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, and Tony Award. All right, South African composer Lebo M joins us now for his tribute. Lebo, good to have you, and thank you very much for your time. When you landed in America as a young man, you attracted the attention of the likes of Quincy Jones. What does it take for one to form such allies and collaborations?
Well, first, thank you for having me and good evening. I had a privilege many years after struggling in Los Angeles of being introduced to Quincy Jones by Ntate Kaifa Siminya. I think it's 1989, the first time I met him. And we basically were called in to be Ntate Kaifa's background singers. And that introduced me to a man who obviously was my hero from my childhood, long before I even thought I'd be in exile and end up in America. And of course, over the years, I had close contact with him. We worked a lot on various charities around the world, mainly, like, for example, in South Africa. Sometimes 1990, 91, he had promised former President Mandela that he's going to build 100 houses. And I flew in that morning, not knowing he's in the country, and he called me. And we went to Orange Farm, and I contributed the fourth house. And since then, we've been working with artists for the New South Africa. And he'd been a great man and a great mentor. And a lot of my career was influenced by his advice in so many ways. Yeah,
you worked together on the tribute album, which was released to coincide with Madiba's 80th birthday. What was it like? I mean, I have been in the room with Quincy working, but I would rather have you relate the story.
I worked on Back on the Block, which then became Listen Up the Lives of Quincy Jones. Everything else was just based on working in Los Angeles, and when we did the Back on the Block tour, a lot of my engagement and involvement with Q was a lot more with artists for the New South Africa, a lot more charitable work than studio or live in concert. I was literally there when he first recorded Tevin Campbell. I think Tevin was about 12 or something like that. But it's a lot more a personal, was a mentor to everyone. And when you have the privilege of being around Quincy Jones in New York or Montreal, where I spent a lot of time with him also, it was more about always dropping pearls of wisdom about the industry, which helped nurture me in a way.
Yeah. One of the most surprising things, of course, we were in Italy and we met Quincy, and first thing is always surrounded by cameras. So there's always somebody clicking next to him, and it's just a permanent thing, which we find particularly strange. But how humble and approachable he was.
The thing is, remember, that was a time, that's long before social media and all, but Q was everybody's person, and it would welcome cameras, and it'll give you a moment that feels like 100 hours. And it was never, when you're around a person like Quincy Jones, you even forget 5 minutes that you're around Quincy Jones, because his humanity and his humanitarian efforts over and above his creative genius, and all around, I mean, on films, live concerts, Broadway production, that's what kind of led me that direction, where it once said to me, never be limited to making music or making records. Go to the extent of going where you never thought you'd go. And it's one of the greatest advices I've ever had, was that I'm not about making music. I'm not about producing. I'm about being a creative content creator across the board and be prepared for the challenges that come ahead, not only being South African, but also being a competitor with African Americans and the world over.
You've been, of course, recently on tour working with Hans and doing some performances. Did you have a chance to reflect with him when this moment was announced? Did you give him a shout and say, Quincy is
We'll be
gone?
meeting each other on the phone literally because I've been in rehearsal here in Cape Town and he's somewhere in Europe, and we're going to see each other in a couple of weeks here. But we talked a lot in the early days about those kinds of relationships with Quincy Jones, Joe Zawinul, and many other people that we've interacted with. Yeah.
Yeah. Are you thinking of a tribute project of some sort?
I just got home. I'm sure there's going to be all kinds of huge around the world tributes. So one has to be led first by the family and respect whatever direction the family wants to take. And wherever we're able to participate, we'll participate. Absolutely.